Good evening, everyone. I'm Dr. Diana Bitner from True Women's Health, here to talk to you about survival tips for the holidays. It is a crazy time, and this is an unprecedented year. And I kind of actually laughed a little bit to myself of, who is it that I am to be sitting in front of you guys talking about holiday or survival tips for the holidays? I'm just like all of you. I've got family drama stuff. I've got stress. Like, we're all in this together. But one thing that I'll share, and I'll share some tips around, I believe it is possible that we can not only survive, but we can thrive in these times. I want you to remember anybody can do easy, but we can do hard. We've got this. And there are some tips and tricks we're going to go over tonight that I really believe works. It's about getting back to the basics. It really is possible to stay calm in this time of craziness. And you know what, it gives me inspiration. Recently, I watched this movie, one of my favorite movies. And of course, in this time of political craziness, one of my favorite movies is The American President with Michael Douglas, Annette Bening, and Michael J. Fox, right? It doesn't get any better than that. And in this movie, he has a great speech at the end. And he says, democracy, just in case I don't want to screw it up, democracy is not cheap. You have to fight for it. It is fragile and it requires great intention and care. So he's talking about democracy. He's talking about speaking and the power of free speech. I want you to apply that same principle to our health. Good health doesn't just happen. Good relationships, good friendships with family and friends, it doesn't just happen. It's fragile and it's precious, and it takes intention. It takes goals. It takes knowing what you want and then doing hard, not walking away when it's crazy. And so again, that movie reminded me of, it's again, it's easy if emotions are flaring, to just join in the fray or to choose to be the calm one, to choose to walk away. Again, the same is true of our health. If we don't make our choices for our health most days, then we're missing the opportunity to age like that. We all have a that. And I would ask you, what is your that? And in this, in this way of thinking, this is how we think it true. It's, you can't be on a journey unless you know where you're going, right? Otherwise you might get lost or distracted. So it's having that goal. And what I would challenge you, number one, is to think about what are your intentions for this holiday season. And I don't know about you, how you think. I think in pictures. So when I think of making a goal, I think of a picture of myself at an event. How am I going to be? How am I going to act? How am I going to look? How am I going to feel? Am I going to feel confident, calm, or am I going to be crazy like the rest of them? Am I going to be staying in my skin, in my body? And am I going to be feeling good about my health? I don't want to be having to run and take a medicine. I want to be able to know what I'm eating in terms of that will make me feel good, and knowing those things that will make me feel empowered, not feel out of control. So, how do you feel after that big meal? Do you feel like you overdid it and you're guilty and, oh, it's going to take me 3 weeks to make up for this meal? Or were you able to kind of eat your Thanksgiving meal or your second meal or your third meal with pace and really enjoy and savor that food so you're not rushing through it and then feeling bad about it? If you're someone who thinks in words, maybe you make a list of the things that will make you really proud about you handled that family event, that weekend, that time away from work. Did you take the time and maybe work out more, or did you watch a lot of TV and at least now you're rested and your brain is free to re-engage with your world next week? So I really want you to think about intention. And in terms of intention, one thing that makes me think about is a patient's story about her sexual health and sexual health relations during the holidays. Again, the holidays can be such a stressful time. And on top of it, if you're in midlife, if you're in menopause, if you have stresses in terms of hormone changes, if you're not sleeping, all of that can affect your sexual health. And, those of you who have seen the sex deck before, it's the card game with the 27 reasons for low sex drive. You can get this on the website, but it's the 27 reasons. And I would argue that one of the main reasons for low sex drive is not feeling emotionally connected. but it's also, you've got to be connected to get connected, literally. So it's having that intention of, I want to stay close to my partner. And so it's, how can we make sure that happens? So a patient was telling me the story that she and her husband have a really good relationship. They really like each other. They love each other. They feel connected most of the time. But with a blended family, with all the stress of the holidays, they just weren't making time to get together, to have intimacy. And so they were feeling really, stressed about it. There was angst between them because one wanted it more than the other. And so they just weren't coming together. And the suggestion by one partner, by her husband, was, let's just schedule sex. Let's just schedule it. Let's just make sure that a couple times this weekend we connect with intimacy, because we know that when we do, we feel good. We feel connected. We feel like we're on the same page. We feel like we're a team. We're together. And if we don't have sex, if we don't have that time together, then we feel kind of like roommates, or we feel like we're struggling more. And so it's making that connection, and then just doing it, in a quickie is okay. It doesn't have to be honeymoon or vacation sex. It can just be, let's connect on that level. It doesn't hurt to have an orgasm or two, but just to have that intimacy and connection to then move on together into that family event. So it's okay to sneak off real quick or have a quickie before you get going with your day, but just to make sure you're connecting and creating that intimacy with your partner. Of course, it has to be that you're connected in the first place. So I had a patient the other day who says, I love my husband. I like him most of the time, but he's just making me crazy lately, and he wants sex and I don't. So I say, okay, so you've got the good ingredients are there. Do you have pain with sex? Well, no. How's your self-image? She's like, I'm a little overweight, but I'm okay with it. My husband loves me no matter what. I feel fine in terms of my self-image and getting intimate. But she said, I just don't feel as connected right now. I said, think about something that he did that makes you feel special. It makes you feel like he really cares. She said, I can't think of anything. And then she said, you know what? He hung the closet doors without me asking. And she got all twinkly. Even above her mask, I could tell that she was getting twinkly. I said, I want you to remember that when he wants sex, or when it's the time that you guys normally would have sex, I want you to think about the closet doors and have that be your mantra. And she laughed and she said, you know what? I think that will really work. So I'm going to think about something that he did that made me feel special. It gets the oxytocin going. It gets that bonding brain chemical going. And it really worked for her to feel connected. So, in terms of, just that little story to hopefully inspire, when I think about survival tips for making the holidays tolerable, it goes back to the basics. And at True, we talk a lot about the seeds, or the 7 essential elements of daily success. And it really is about the basics. We can talk about medication a little bit for mood. We can talk about medication for hormones. And you all know that I'm certainly biased in terms of hormones are way safer than many people think. And hormones can really be a lovely tool to help us feel like ourselves after menopause. But I want to focus on these basics that we can do every day to get through the holidays, just get through any regular day. And the number one seed is water. If you don't get your water, you're going to feel like a limp houseplant. I can just tell when I have a patient come in who's not hydrated. It shows in her hair. It shows in her skin. It can show in energy. Water is one of those very basic things I think we think is not, that important because, I feel fine. I'm not dizzy. I'm not passing out. But having enough hydration is really important. And we think about a net water amount every day of around 80 ounces. Now, for me, I work out a good 45 minutes a day. I'm drinking about 120 ounces a day. Maybe if you're not working out as much, or it's a day you're not working out, you don't have to drink that much. You'll find your number. It's not a set rule. But what's important is the net part of it. So let's say that I had a patient one time and I said, how much water are you drinking? She's like, I don't know, 3 glasses, 4 glasses. I said, how much caffeine? She's like, well, about 3 cups of coffee. Okay. How much alcohol? A glass or 2 of wine every night. I'm like, oh, wait. So you drink 4 glasses of water, 3 cups of coffee, and 2 glasses of wine. So you're actually at -1. So her net water was actually negative. And what was one of her complaints? Fatigue. She didn't feel like she had the energy to exercise. She had hot flashes, even though she was on hormones. Not drinking enough water can create those hot flashes. So if you don't want to be having sweats at the Thanksgiving table, and you don't want to be having hot flashes while you're cooking, or night sweats, the night before a big family event where you're not getting sleep and then you're more stressed the next day, drink your water. It's that simple. And it can be non-caffeinated. I'm sitting here drinking a yellow bubbly because I don't always just like the plain stuff. But it's non-caffeinated beverages. I love my coffee, but I make sure I get my water too. All right, so the next one of the seeds is sleep. Now, if sleep were a drug, it has such amazing benefits that we wouldn't be able to afford it. Sleep is a drug that does so much good for us. Number one, if we're sleeping, then we're less likely to be insulin resistant. We're less likely to crave sugar, and we're less likely to store sugar in our belly fat. So who wants that menopause? Nobody. Who wants bra fat? Nobody. Get your sleep, drink your sleep, drink your sleep, get your sleep, and your body is less likely to crave that sugar. If you're sleeping, that's when you make your brain chemicals, and you're much more likely to be able to cope in a difficult situation. If you're sleep deprived, you're more likely to have a hot flash and a night sweat. So again, this starts with intention. If your intention is to be calm, cool, collected, you're the calm one in the room, you got to get your sleep. And it starts with the intention, but then follow it up with prioritizing it. So I have an alarm on my phone now that reminds me it's time to go to bed, just like the alarm is set for me to wake up in the morning. Because I always get my third or fourth wind at around 11:10 p.m. And I really need to be in bed around 11. If I'm going to get 7 hours, which is 2 sleep cycles, I really need to get to bed at 11 because I love to get up at 6. But all of a sudden it's 11:15, 11:30, 11:45, and now it's midnight. And I'm like, oh, I got to go to bed. So it's really important to prioritize and make it something that you commit to doing. If we don't sleep, it impacts the rest of our life. Number 3 is the micronutrients, or rather, let's talk about macronutrients first. Sorry. So can't even talk. Macronutrients is a balance of healthy carbs, healthy protein, and healthy fat. Now, we talk about treats. What's a treat? A treat is a simple carb. It's the white sugar in the pumpkin pie. It's the white roll. It's the white mashed potatoes. That's a treat. And okay, on Thanksgiving or on this weekend, you might choose to have more than one treat. But your body is going to handle it a lot better if you've been in a habit of having healthy carbs. So what's a healthy carb? Sweet potato. I make my pie crust with whole wheat pastry flour. So pastry flour is a lot lighter than whole wheat regular flour, and it's just adding one more source of a healthy carb instead of adding one more source of sugar. When I make my sweet potatoes, I do maple syrup I don't do white sugar. So I do mashed sweet potatoes in addition to the white potatoes that my aunt loves so much. The stuffing, all right, that's white bread, and we're not going to worry about that. That's a treat. So again, you hear what I'm saying. It's having a lot of those healthy carbs mixed in with those that we know are treats. And again, for the holiday weekends when we indulge, our body's going to handle it much better if we also have those complex carbs. Healthy protein. So turkey, it's a pretty healthy protein. Healthier than, let's say, a ham. But if ham is something you love to have at Thanksgiving, okay, can you just limit that high fatty meat, savor it, enjoy it, slow down, don't eat on the run, just sit down and enjoy those bites of ham if that's what you like. But then again, just know that overall in most days, it's much better to have a protein with fewer saturated fat. So even to pick more of a plant protein like a bean or a lentil or a quinoa with really healthy whole protein. And of course, healthy fats. I pretty much went in my kitchen and I threw away all the fats that weren't unsaturated. So I have olive oil, I bake with coconut oil, and I have a little avocado oil sometimes for a vinaigrette. And then I'll have a canola oil, but the canola oil that's single batch and organic. I don't want the commercial canola oil that might have more pesticides. So it's really thinking about the healthy fats. For lunch today, I had an avocado and some chips. And then, of course, for a snack, I had a handful of some nuts, and I love Brazil nuts most. So it's having those healthy fats throughout our day. And then when, again, we indulge a little bit, of course, I make the best gravy in the world. So I'll have gravy that I make from the drippings from the turkey. Okay, what are you going to do? But again, it's having those treats, but again, most days focusing on healthy fats. Number 4 is micronutrients. Now, if you forget to take your vitamins over the weekend, oh well, I mean, you're probably not going to feel a whole lot different. But again, it's having those daily habits that keeps us strong. You know, we don't want Thanksgiving weekend to be one where we slip and fall and break a hip. Who wants to spend Thanksgiving weekend in the ER, especially not during time of COVID? So it's having that daily habits of taking your vitamin D and your calcium. The other thing about vitamin D is it helps boost our immune system. And for some people, it's probably more important than others. But again, if this is a time where we want to be resilient and we want to be strong and make sure that our immune system is strong to fight against such thing as a virus, then we want to make sure we're doing everything we can and having that intention to get through the holiday weekend, again, without tripping on a rug and breaking a hip. So it's getting those vitamins in and just make it easy. Every day I have them by where I make my coffee. So I take my vitamins while I'm waiting for my coffee to percolate. So it's having those vitamins ready to go. So I make it easy to remember, not easy to forget. Number 5 is exercise. So I don't know about you all, but I have to exercise or I get irritable or a little crabby. I might get a little short. I think it's not only the endorphins and the benefits of exercise, but it's that I made time for me, that I am down in my exercise room with my headphones in, and my kids, my family know that if you're bugging me during exercise, you better be bleeding, and not just a little bleeding, a lot of bleeding. Like, it is a time where I do not want to be bothered. And they've learned maybe the hard way, don't bug mom when she's working out. So to maintain your weight, it's important to get 5,000 steps a day at least and 10,000 steps a day for weight loss. But also, if losing weight and maintaining your weight and feeling strong is important to you, it's all about strength training and maintaining your muscle mass. For those of you who know me at all, you know I just love the Peloton app. So I don't have any of the Peloton equipment, but I love the app. It's $12 a month. And in fact, tonight I'm still going to go down and do the bike, and I'm going to lift some arms. And, you know, again, it just helps me feel strong. It helps me maintain my weight. And, you know, feeling pretty good about lifting those weights, it's a way that you can be ready to face your day and deal with whatever's coming. So I would just stress, I can't stress the importance of exercise enough. And the other component is stretching. So it could be as simple as a 10-minute stretch every day. I so encourage downward dog and child's pose. If you don't know those poses, just Google them, child's pose, downward dog, you know, every morning, every night, to really help stretch out your back, your arms, your hamstrings, your calves. It can help sleep. It can help avoid that restless leg or that Jimmy leg. It can help get away from having that muscle spasm and that tightness. So again, just to take a deep breath and practice stretching. So then we also talk about fiber. So fiber is so important in terms of keeping our colon healthy. People ask me all the time, how do I get 35 grams of fiber? That's a lot. Basically, if your BMs are formed, you're doing pretty good. Of course, if you're drinking your water and your BMs are formed, you're doing pretty good on the fiber. But it's thinking about adding those whole grains, like whole grain rice or brown rice, whole grain bread, quinoa. When you have a fruit or vegetable, try to include the skin whenever you can. It's just adding those little things all day. You don't have to stress about an amount. If I'm worried in a day that I haven't gotten enough fiber, I just pop a fiber pill at night, drinking my glass of kombucha for those healthy probiotics. And 2, if you take the time to take probiotics, but then you don't have the fiber in your diet, then the probiotics don't have anything to live on. And one of their favorite fibers is one called inulin that lives in apple. So an apple a day keeps the doctor away. So an apple a day helps support that healthy colon function and gives those healthy bacteria something to live on. So I highly recommend that you have an apple a day, take your fiber, be it fruits and vegetables or a fiber pill. The last one I think is just absolutely key. It's metered breathing and gratitude. What does this mean? Metered breathing for me is just focusing on the air going through my nose. If for me, if it's like an assignment, I've got to think about how long I'm breathing in and how long I'm breathing out and how many times I'm breathing. That doesn't work for me. That might work for you. For me, it's just sitting and being calm, closing my mouth, opening my eyes, breathing through my nose, staring at a spot, and just being in that moment. And especially if you feel like your mind's racing and you're like, there's no way I can sit here for 2 minutes. It's really focusing on gratitude. So this isn't a silly thing like, oh, I'm thankful for the roof above my head. No, what are you so thankful for that you would cry if we really got talking about it? What are you so grateful for? And this is a practice we recommend every day. So this is something to practice when you get up in the morning. I always sit, have my first sip of coffee and think about what I'm grateful for and to kind of get myself into the day. If you're walking into a family gathering, hopefully not more than 10 people this time of the year, but if you're walking into a family gathering or a situation that you're a little worried about in terms of tensions might run a little high, I so recommend that you sit outside for 2 seconds before you go in, or 5 minutes, and just have that little bit sense of gratitude and practice that gratitude. And if you can feel kind of your blood pressure, your tension rising in a situation, I want you to look away and just think about 3 things that you're so grateful for. It gets you out of that flight or fight. It helps you not say stupid things that you'll regret later. It helps you stay in that calm place and follow your intentions for what you want to be like in that event. So again, use gratitude to your benefit. One thing that I want to share is that, sometimes I forget. There's so much work went into this book. I want to age like that. And there was a lot of intention around thinking about all these different areas of wellness. And one of the areas of wellness we talk about at True is coping, ease of coping. And what I want you to remember is that women who cope well, again, it doesn't just happen. It's fragile. It's precious. We have to practice it. And women who cope well, studies have shown they do 3 things consistently. Number 1, they believe they deserve to be happy. That's profound, right? Do you believe that you deserve to be happy? So I would say yes, please believe that you deserve to be happy. And then number 2, do you have a support network around you? So who is your support network? I'll never forget, I had a patient years ago who worked so much in an intense job. She had to be at work at 6 a.m. She didn't get home till 7 or 8 o'clock. She did not have a good relationship with her husband, and her only daughter lived states away. She was very isolated. Where she worked, it wouldn't have been appropriate to be friends with, real friendly with the people that she worked with. And so she really became isolated, and I took care of her. She developed a breast cancer. It was so hard. She didn't have people. I said, who are your people? She said, I don't have people. And it just made me so sad. It just broke my heart. I can picture her face right now. So I would encourage you to keep support around you. Those friendships you maybe haven't found in a while. Hey, Melissa, I see you on there, one of my dearest besties. I remember sitting one time with Melissa and 2 of our other dear friends, Jill and Kim, and I said, you guys, this isn't optional. We have to make time to stay connected and know that we're here for each other. Number 3 is to ask for help when you need it. So if you have a support network and you're having a problem, reach out and ask for help. You would help them if they asked you. It's okay. And also you're giving them the gift of helping you, which makes them feel good. So these are the 3 things that people do to cope well. But I want to briefly read from the book, I Want to Age Like That. Ease of coping, resilience. Everyone has ups and downs. The longer I'm in healthcare and medicine and take care of patients, the more I have learned that everyone has something. And believe me, everybody's got something. I don't care how much money you have. I don't care about any of that social status. Everybody's got something. Everyone has a story and everybody has challenges, but not everybody copes the same way. Some women struggle with anxiety or depression, which makes coping even more difficult. For some, it's a dysfunctional family, including people who have broken trust and caused harm. For some, it's financial difficulty. For some, it's coping with children who have made poor decisions. And for others, it's health conditions that seem insurmountable. I believe that you are more likely to cope successfully with whatever gets thrown in your path if you make a decision to cope well, identify your weaknesses with coping, if any exist, and figure out how to be prepared for the unknown. What does your picture of self look like in terms of how you cope with challenges and stress? We all know women in our lives who are calm and think clearly in times of stress. Some women yell, some cry, some hide, some get headaches, some eat or drink in excess to avoid having to face reality, and some face hardship head on. Picture one of the calm women you have seen take on any situation. What does she do? How does she handle it? Questions I want you to ask yourself. How do I see my picture of self coping with tough times? What will happen when my children are older and dealing with their life situations? How have they seen me cope as an example? Can I be a stabilizing force? Do I fall apart or do I get stronger? If my parents become sick, how will I still take care of myself and them? How well does my future self face life challenges without letting healthy habits go? What are my coping mechanisms? Will I fall into a cycle of not sleeping, stress eating, drinking too much coffee, and yelling at everyone around me? Or will I make choices that support myself and them as well? And can I commit to a list, weighing the options, keeping a positive attitude, and staying strong? So again, it is possible to cope well. And if you feel like you've got some challenges with that, we at True can help. We just, Ashley Wildman just joined our team as a counselor, and she's there certainly to help you think through some of these situations. We're there to think about how we are in terms of how is menopause affecting us. So I don't know about you all, but if I don't take my estrogen, I'm feeling a little off and I don't have my same energy. For me, it's really important tool to make me feel like myself. It helps me sleep, et cetera, et cetera. So there are tricks of the trade, and we're here to support you. We've been so pleased. With our patients, we have a private Facebook group, and we just love how our patients are now supporting each other. Again, we have to stick together. It is possible. So again, one thing I want to say is that we have all these seeds in a free downloadable ebook. And so I would recommend that you go to our website, truewomenshealth.com, and download the ebook. The link is also in the chat on the side. But with this ebook, I want you to download it, print it off, and put it on your bedside table, tack it to the refrigerator, put it in the bathroom as you're getting ready or curling your hair in the morning. Look at the Seeds ebook to remind you. Again, we have to make these things easy to remember, not easy to forget. And once you're doing something for 10 days, right, it makes a habit. So it's incorporating all these seeds into our daily life. And you know how I like to always leave you guys with 5 tips. So I'm going to leave you with 5 tips for surviving the holidays, and not just surviving, but also thriving. So tip number 1, start each day with a glass of water, and then just 5 minutes of sitting in a quiet place and thinking about what makes you feel deep gratitude. If you also have a faith-based practice and prayer as part of your schedule, yes, this is also an important time for that, but I would argue that it's also important just to be in the temple. To be in the temple and think about, what am I thankful for? And having intention how I start this day. So that's tip number 1. Tip number 2, be intentional about what you plan to eat in a day. So every week I think about my intention for food. I set a menu, but then again, every day I revisit that intention. I think about for breakfast, I love a protein shake with my blueberries and banana. I look forward to it every day. For a snack, I love to have an apple and some nuts. For lunch, I might have, like today, avocado and salad and some tortilla chips and some beans. And then, dinner, I might just do a shake before I go get on the bike, or, I might kind of see what's in the kitchen after my son had his dinner. So I'm just very intentional in a day about what I eat, and just to savor it and to be full. So again, it's all about being intentional and taking this day by day. Tip number 3, you don't have to do all of the exercise every day, but do something every day. Every day. That might mean 10,000 steps that you break up during the day in 3 spurts of exercise. It might be 10 minutes of stretching and 10 minutes of core workout with stretching, with core workout that's intentional. Again, I love the Peloton app because it allows you to filter by time. You do 10 minutes or 20 minutes or 30 minutes or 60 minutes of an exercise. So on a busy day, you might not get to everything, but at least did you do something? I make my exercise schedule Sunday night for the entire week. And it's my goal every day to get it figured out that I at least do a little bit. So tip number 4, set an alarm to go to bed just as you would set an alarm to wake up. Again, that I can hear that little bell from anywhere in the house from my phone that says, okay, it's time to change what I'm doing, make it a priority, and go to bed. I'm going to regret it if I don't. So again, set an alarm to go to bed, just like you would set an alarm to wake up. Tip number 5, if you wake up in the night, I want you to think, I got this. Just for a second, let's focus on the alternative. If you wake up in the middle of the night and you go, are you kidding me? Now I'm awake. Now I'm thinking about what I got to do. I'm thinking about what I'm stressed about. And now your adrenaline goes up, your blood sugar goes up, and now you've just fed the fire of worry. So again, instead of that, what I want you to do is you wake up, you look at the clock, it's 2 a.m., and you're like, I want you to say, I got this. If that helps you fall right back to sleep, you're good to go. If you lay there for a little bit and you can tell you're starting to go, I want you to break the cycle. Get up, go to the bathroom, because I'm sure your bladder will start talking. Go to the bathroom, empty your bladder, drink a glass of water, and then maybe just sit in the bathroom for a minute or at the top of the stairs or wherever it is. And just, again, have some metered breathing. Close your mouth, open your eyes, stare at a spot. Just breathe for a minute. Have some gratitude. Feel yourself just kind of come down. Go back in bed. Maybe if you have a bed partner, thankful for your bed partner next to you, and you're out. If you lay there and think, well, that was stupid, that didn't work, I want you to get up and do it again. We got to practice. We got to practice getting into that calm part. And the more we do it, the easier that it is. So I want to thank you all for joining me tonight to talk about these survival tips to get through the holidays. And again, not just to survive them, but to thrive and to be very proud at the end of the holiday season of how we handled it, what our weight is, the fact that we still stayed emotionally connected to our partner, even in a very sexual, intimate way, even when everything was crazy all around us. I want you to really be intentional about the holidays and enjoy them. Please stay safe. Please stay healthy. And thanks for joining us here at True Women's Health.